Now, in the past videos, we discussed the importance of organizing and writing your speech. We discussed how to effectively open your oration, the 5 P's of public speaking, which are meant to provide a framework for your next oration, and more importantly, how to effectively close your speech so the audience understands. But writing a speech is only half of it. Because at the end, it is your job to deliver that piece of communication with confidence and poise. So in this video, I want to discuss 3 things: how to progress as a speaker with confidence and strength, why nervousness is natural, and how it can even benefit our speaking journeys, and third, how to harness that nervousness and that energy to make change for the better. But before we start off, I would like to extend a word of thanks to all of my subscribers. We recently hit 1,000 and I thank you from the bottom of my heart from this journey we've been on together. Don't hesitate to leave a comment with video ideas, subscribe, like, and share for more such peaking tips. So, let's get on. Why is it that speakers feel nervous? To do this, I first want to talk about confidence, which is the very opposite of nervousness. The common misconception about confidence is that it is something that people are born with. It isn't something that can be learned or studied. People who are good at speaking naturally possess that level of confidence. But I want you to shatter this worldview. Because confidence isn't merely a skill that people are born with, it is something that can be honed, something that can be trained and harnessed. Now, the reason I want to talk about confidence before delving into the idea of nerves is because nervousness often makes people believe that confidence is impossible. But this is not true at all. In fact, I can guarantee you that every single one of the top 10 speakers today still feel that twinge of nervousness before they deliver their speech or oration. I myself, after practicing speaking for roughly 5 or 6 years, do still feel nervous, even before recording a video or delivering a casual speech. It is natural, and that is something we have to understand if we want to learn how to harness that nervousness for the better. Now, when I talk about nervousness, I'm not talking about something that is inevitable or something that cannot be controlled. Because the reality is that many people I've seen in my professional or personal lives, they use that nervousness as an excuse not to move forward. Your nerves are not an excuse. Your job as a speaker is to harness that nervousness. It's okay if you feel fear, because that's natural. The human mind is naturally geared towards seeking uniform or natural situations. It naturally runs away from standing out from the crowd. It's an evolutionary trait. Naturally, therefore, when we go off to speak or go in a conversation, that fight or flight response, that piece of nervousness will continue to remain. But think of it like riding a bicycle. When we started off learning how to ride a bike, we naturally felt extremely unsure. You never knew if you were going to fall, whether you would succeed, whether you would fail. But once you practiced riding that bike enough, once you did it that one extra time that gave you that confidence, all of a sudden, riding a bike seem just as natural as using your own limbs. I want you to use this approach for public speaking. We naturally feel that fear because we don't have much experience. But you will find, and I can guarantee you this, that with practice and continuing to face your fear by public speaking, whether it be even in a conversation, an interview, or simply talking with friends or family, if you speak enough and you have that mindset to improve, there is no reason why your nerves or your fear of public speaking should stop you. And in fact, if you do it just enough, that fear will dampen and become an afterthought. Now, if I've discussed why it's important to feel nervous and exactly why confidence is something that can be earned rather than a natural skill, let's move on to discussing the second main point, which is the idea of the fact that your audience notices your nerves far less than you do. When we become nervous or feel that fear within our minds, we naturally feel hesitant. We're scared that the audience will perceive us as jumpy, nervous, or maybe even a bad speaker. But the truth is that feeling nervous is very rarely something your audience can actively notice and take a hold of. Sure, if your voice shakes or you forget something, that is something they will notice and they may act upon. But for the most part, nobody can see that nervousness within your head. That nervousness is for you, and you only, and it is in your power to define what that nerves, what that fear has upon the rest of your speech. It is for this reason that I find practice is something that is invaluable when gaining confidence and to speak better. Look at the greatest speakers in today's world. They succeed not because they have this natural skill, but because they practice. Now, practicing is something similar to nervousness that is inevitable, but it is also something that can be exploited and done to your advantage. Think back to your first ever speech, or your first ever piece of communication. You likely had to practice a lot. You probably spent the afternoon, you may have spent nights trying to memorize and get those points hammered into your head. But what happens if you practice enough and enough is that you will find that public speaking will come more natural. As a result, the amount of practice you have to do becomes more efficient and expedited. That the more you practice, the more speeches you deliver, the less you have to overthink every small point and practice every tiny portion of the speech. I'll tell you a story from my experience. Back when I first started off 5 years ago, I used to practice a lot. This meant delivering a speech every other day, simply to memorize or iron down every small gesture. But nowadays, when I'm called to give a casual speech or presentation, I do not practice that much. Now, this isn't something I obviously recommend if you're delivering a professional or competitive oration, but by delivering those speeches on a weekly basis, and therefore practicing and honing that skill, I am now able to communicate effectively without any extra practice or time, which in turn helps tone down my nerves as well. It is for this reason that the next strategy is to accept your imperfection. There is no such thing as the perfect public speaker. There is no such thing as the perfect conversation or the best case scenario. Speaking is a skill that is meant to be improved upon constantly. Instead of merely micro-tweaking and acting as a perfectionist, toning down every single loose end, leave it as it is. That doesn't mean that you won't come back to it in a later speech, but the point is that accepting your flaws as a speaker will very often provide you with the very mindset to improve. The key here is to look back at your speeches or past orations. For this, I recommend you try recording those speeches, or if that's not possible, have a few peers or family members listen to them for you. After that speech, listen to it. Listen to it first with the audio muted to get a feel of your movement or gestures. Then listen to it with the audio to understand your pitch, your tone, and the finer details. By doing this, you are provided with a clear benchmark on what to improve upon. There's a saying I heard, which is that the only way to improve is by accepting your imperfections. And that is true within public speaking. Not every speech has to be absolutely perfect in every aspect. What I like to do is use one speech to focus on a particular action point. Maybe in speech A, I prioritize making eye contact. Maybe in speech B, I build on that eye contact and try to incorporate variation within my tone. By doing this, we can create more realistic goals and actionable plans for ourselves to ultimately alleviate that nervousness and to spark that sense of confidence. Because at the end, like any other skill in today's day, public speaking is something that can be harnessed and improved if you take the effort to understand it. Once again, if you made it this far and enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, share, and comment. Otherwise, next video will go deeper into the importance of presentation in public speaking. Have a great day.